Who's my kitty? Who's my Mr. Kitty? My fluffy old pal. Yes, that's my Mr. Kitty, yes.
What's up, nerds? So when you look at Kel'Thuzad, you probably see a lich-like figure with the powers of the undead. But what you might not know is that he was once human. After Arthas became a Death Knight, he resurrected Kel'Thuzad for, let's just say, nefarious purposes, which explains the lich form that Kel'Thuzad is seen in today. Why do I bring up the topic of Kel'Thuzad? Because Mr. Bigglesworth is Kel'Thuzad's pet, and the lich is incredibly protective over the cat. It is said that any who dare to harm a hair on the pet's head doom themselves. It would make sense that a human would domesticate and bond with a cat. A lich, not so much. So we can see how this bond was formed between Kel'Thuzad and his cat, Mr. Bigglesworth. In fact, it's said that Mr. Bigglesworth is the last thread connecting Kel'Thuzad to his mortal life. Actually kind of a touching story. Hey, quick fun fact, do you know that you can develop allergies at later stages of life, say in your 20s, 30s, or even beyond? And a person who lived their whole life with a pet cat with no allergy problems could then develop an allergic reaction to felines? Ask me how I know. Whatever, I'm more of a dog person anyway. Worgans for life. So let's talk about the hero Mr. Bigglesworth. His hero power is Kel'Thuzad's Kitty. A passive hero power. When a player dies, discover a minion from their warband. It keeps any enchantments. So when a player gets knocked out, you get to discover 3 minions that they had on their board and choose one. And it keeps any and all buffs that were applied. But more than that, if it's a golden unit, it acts as a true golden unit. When you play it, you discover a minion from the next tavern tier up. So what's the game plan with the cat? Simply stay alive. There is no standard line of play you want to follow with Mr. Bigglesworth like there is with other heroes, like Patches where you want to be cycling pirates, or Alexstrasza where you want to grab pairs of dragons while you level to Tavern 5. But you may want to avoid playing the power leveling risk reward strategy on the cat that you do often want to play on other heroes. You typically want to play for the mid game to stay alive, because once other players start getting knocked out, you start getting really strong. So it's probably helpful that we discuss what kinds of builds are good in the mid game that can allow you to get to that stage of the game where other heroes are getting knocked out and you start to get value from your hero power. There's a few I tend to focus on. Those are juggler builds and mech builds. If you're able to grab a juggler on turn 6 or 7, aka 8 gold or 9 gold respectively, then you may want to stay at Tavern 3 an extra turn or two and grab things like Imprisoners, Imp Gang bosses, and even more jugglers. A juggle build is one that's great for mid-game, but typically can't win the lobby since it falls off when other players begin to build up large statted minions. But with Mr. Bigglesworth, you can transition out of jugglers in the late game by grabbing large buff minions with your hero power. And the same is true for mechs. If you grab an early Deflecto, you can then build around this type of minion. Almost all good mech cards are on Tavern 3 and 4, so you can actually sit on Tavern 4 and pick up units like Mechano Eggs, Iron Sensei, Security Rovers, and slap an Annoy module on those bad boys. Strong mid-game mech builds typically include 2 Deflectos up front, a Mechano Egg with a module on it, and another Divine Shield reset somewhere in the middle of your board. Plus there are other units on 4 that will pair well with mechs like the Dragon Enforcer and Bolvar. Tavern 4 is great for mech Divine Shield types of builds. Great for mid-game, but another build that tends to fall off in the endgame. But, big but, don't force these builds. Follow the first rule of Battlegrounds. Take what Bob gives you. Don't try to force mechs, don't try to force jugglers if they aren't there. If you do, you'll probably end up wasting gold on rolling and won't have the ability to scale as fast as the rest of the lobby, and you'll get knocked out. Play to the strength of your board. If you have a bunch of Murlocs, play it like you normally would with Murlocs. If you really aren't strong, maybe don't aggressively level to Tavern 5 to look for Brand like you normally would with Murlocs. It's probably smarter just to stay at Tavern 4, grab some Primal Fins, and try to stabilize from there for a few turns. I tend to stay at 4 longer with Mr. Bigglesworth than other heroes. I typically won't go to Tavern 5 until other heroes get knocked out and I can grab one of their golden units and discover a tier 6 minion. Unless, 1, I'm really strong and want to push my advantage, or 2, I'm in a comfortable spot and I'm offered a triple to where I can level, grab the triple, and discover a tier 6 minion. So putting things simply, try not to make risky plays with the cat. Look for builds that you can stabilize with in the mid game like mechs and jugglers, and then once other heroes start to die off, grab their huge statted minions or grab their golden minions, level to Tavern 5, and discover some tier 6s. So as you can see in this game, I picked up a nice little triple early on and grabbed a Hydra. I've also added Deflecto to my board to give myself some options for direction on Tavern 4. My plan is to stay on 4 and just look for strong units, or at least try to triple one of my pairs and hopefully grab a Baron to pair with my Golden Azoth. I stumble upon a Juggler though. I have Entomb Prisoners, so a Juggler is a great addition to help me stabilize at this midpoint of the game. And then roll into a triple. If I can win this next fight, I'll most likely level, grab the triple, and discover a tier 6 minion. And an easy win it is. And since we're playing the weakest here in the lobby, we follow that plan. Level and discover my 6-drop. Is it just me or do 6-drops feel weaker now? The elemental tier 6 minions aren't the strongest, but I still happily grab my genie. We are now at the point in the game where people will begin to get knocked out. I grabbed the Macaw from Millhouse. I'm thinking I'm on Tavern 5, and if I can find a Baron, I could shift to a Death Rattle build with my spawn. Even though it's taunted, I can still pick up a Selfless hero to pair with the Macaw to make sure I get value from it. In hindsight though, grabbing the Tavern Tempest was probably better. First, it gives me an extra gold since I'll get the minion from the Battle Cry, but also provides the chance to discover Low Rag. Pick up not just 1, but 2 Light Fangs and then throw away my spawn and my initial plan of a Death Rattle build. I also grabbed a Brand at the end of my buys phase. I was out of gold and throwing a Brand into any build is almost always beneficial. Lich has a Bran and some big boys. Nothing really that is playing to the strength of his hero power though, but in Battlegrounds, stats are king, so we get chunked for 12 health here. But Jandis bites the dust and grab the Bran pair. A golden Bran is almost always GG. And now it's decision time since I'm board locked. Do I throw away one of my light fangs for an open spot to cycle buff cards? Or do I throw away my weakest big boy, which would be the Demon Taunt, to keep the second light fang and the pair on my board? And I take a risk, I throw away the demon. We lose the fight, but we survive. And take a look at what we got here. Golden Bran time. And then pick up another Deflecto, really just looking for stats now. Amalgadon is a really good find, and it's time to say goodbye to our Light Fang buddies. We play a little too slow here though. We could have gotten +8/+8 more in scaling from Rag since we had all those elementals in our hand. But we still got a ton stronger. We have a huge cleave, 2 big Deflectos, a little Rag who's 17 and almost all grown up, a Divine Shield poisonous taunted Amalgadon, and our decently sized Genie. We are now in a position where we can win this game. And look, we're much stronger than the Ice God here. If we can kill him, hopefully we can discover his huge Deflecto and grab another triple. Okay, nice, we killed him. And Deflecto. Bada boom. And I grabbed the other Deflecto here over the golden unit. Yes, I could have discovered a 6-drop, but at this point I just want more powerful units. And since the Deflecto has Divine Shield, I take him over the Molten Rock. Level is 6, grab some buff cards, and then here's a classic case of game distraction. Mid-conversation with the lady throughout this entire buy phase, and I completely forget that I grabbed another big boy Deflectobot. So again, I'm not fast enough to play the other elementals in my hand to buff my board, and throw down the Gas Coiler instead of the other big Deflecto. A big oops. Hopefully we're not punished for that. Lich is strong, but we're much bigger. Even with the gas coiler mistake, we easily win that fight. And plus side, we can now sell back the gas coiler and have an open spot on our board for buff cards. So we get to rolling. Grab some buff cards, empty our hand, and then this time throw down the Deflectobot. Huge Hydra Cleave. I assume we're heavy favorites, but we already win that fight simply based on that first hit. And yup, almost 98% chance to win. Easy game, boys. And man, look at my rank. It's going to be a long road back to the top 200. But that'll do it for me. Hope you enjoyed the game, hope you learned something, and hope you don't have to deal with any late developing allergies in your life. Thanks for watching. Godspeed, nerds.